So, about 3 weeks back, Lerato, Shasha went to the Chris Network and they were talking about the things that a husband and wife does and what, and all those type of things. There's this particular clip. So I wanted to come back to it because I only spoke about the kissing part to say even the Bible does not recognize the things that they were saying. But there's something else that I want to stretch on here.
Foreplay means inviting, in the Lord's way, there are no such things.
Before you do sex, to kiss your wife?
Chris, it's not allowed. What do you want me to say? It's not allowed.
Lerato.
Yes, it's not.
To kiss my wife?
Who instructed you to do that?
So you'll remember last time we spoke about that and we showed that the Bible speaks on that and it encourages those kind of interactions, whether it be speaking of each other, it encourages those things. I brought up verses, and showed that particular area, that was error. But there's something else I want to address here.
If I marry you, I'm not.
Show me in the Bible where it is instructed you to do that. Where is it instructed in the Bible to do that? Why are you not involved? Because I go head on this after I've said all these things that I've.
So the part I want to talk about now is this part here. She says she goes head on this particular subject.
And I will say it because it is the truth of the Lord. And these things have saved me, Chris, to live nothing but a holy life.
Okay. So you see right there, Lerato just inserted herself. So this has saved her from living nothing but a holy life. She just inserted herself on what she says is an instruction from God. What does kissing have to do with an instruction from God? Now, you might have seen pictures of Lerato before she turned to holiness and stuff like that. Yeah, she was doing the most. Or she used to put makeup and what. So I'm guessing she used to jola and all those type of things. And so now, I don't know if she's trying to compensate for the time when she was doing all of that. But the red flag for me is that she even puts herself into that. But anyways.
Right. And I've been a Christian all my life from 2009. I've been born again. I was going to a normal church like, where did I get saved in?
So she's been born again since 2009. When did she transform to the Holiness movement? So I'm very interested in understanding that part. I haven't followed her journey that much. But here she says she's been born again since 2009.
Right. And I've been a Christian all my life from 2009. I've been born again. I was going to a normal church like, where did I get saved in, what's that church? The one that has the dove and the love. The Universal Church, right?
So stop right there. Stop right there. That doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make sense. So Lerato is willing to acknowledge when she got born again in Universal Church, the very churches that they tell everyone else that they are not godly churches and what. And it's fine. We agree that those churches, some of them, they are blank, they are empty. We agree on some of those things. But now, why is it that if we are speaking about holiness, why is it that she doesn't say, because you see, it makes it sound, it's grand, like much bigger when you say you were born again 2009, when you were going to that church. For them, for you must recognize only the time when you started living holiness as the time when you were born again. But here, Lerato acknowledges the years when she was born again in a thing. But I thought it's not the same. Why is it like it only flexes when it comes to you guys? But we'll pass that.
I was still living in lust. I was still living in fornication, yet I was calling myself a Christian.
How can't you didn't say you were born again there?
Only when I started living a holy life, now that I'm actually, I don't feel guilty when I pray. I feel the Lord more than before, because
We're not dismissing how you currently feel because you're doing something. Maybe you've changed your outward appearance and stuff like that. Yeah, we're not dismissing that. But when did you get born again? Anyways.
To not sin. I don't live in sin. So this lifestyle helps me to live a good life and have a good relationship with God.
This is called sinless perfection. You heard her saying that she doesn't live in sin or she doesn't have sin. But if you hear anyone saying that, that's a red flag. Yes, we don't live in a sense in disregard to sin. But this loose language, it's a loose language in my view of saying that, they don't live in sin because now they've accepted a certain standard that looks like holiness, right? Because they don't dress a certain way and all those type of things. So because they have that, now they don't live in sin. So living in sin was being dressed in that way and whatnot and all this kind of stuff. This is why I say this type of teaching, be very careful of. People that are in holiness, they tend to have this thinking that because they live in holiness, they dress a certain way and all these things. So they tend to prescribe to themselves that no, they don't live in sin or they don't have sin. The Bible is very clear concerning that. Anyone that says they do not have sin, it says that they are a liar because the truth is not in them. You see, sin comes as a result of our desire, but that sin is so much strong because of the flesh. So if a person is still in the flesh, sinful desire will still take over. They will still perform sinful desire. What she's talking about there is a doctrine called sinless perfection. Look it up on YouTube. I'm not going to talk about it here. It's a small thing. You might think of it as a small little thing of how people speak about themselves once they are born again. When you hear that person is not clear on sanctification because they believe that from the moment they were born again, then they have no sin. It's called sinless perfection. You can Google it on YouTube and study it a little bit more. It's an unbiblical doctrine. When we become born again, it doesn't mean we automatically just don't sin. That's not it. If you read Romans chapter number 7, it will tell you that sin so easily takes over because of the flesh. The Bible, even in Hebrews, clarifies that the subject matter of sin comes as a result of the weakness of the law having to be performed by the flesh. In Romans chapter number 7, it says sin takes over because of the weakness in which it has to perform through the flesh. So because they haven't really properly studied, it's a very subtle subject. You'll find people that believe in this doctrine are very judgmental because they feel because they accept this type of a theology, then they are rightly strict. And then the rest of us, we're just very loose people. We just don't know what to do with ourselves. We don't care about the Lord. It's a very nasty doctrine because it makes people think they are in the right. But the judgmental state is because they feel they are cleared because of this new standard that they have accepted. Sinless perfection. What Lerato is talking about there is called sinless perfection. I advise people to go online, look it up, and be very careful when you hear people teaching that. Because it's not a biblical doctrine. It is a doctrine that makes people look at each other because of the standard that they have accepted. They are not saying so because they were given a position of righteousness. They are saying so because they think they are maintaining their salvation. Whereas when you read the Bible, it speaks very clear concerning that. It says that He is the one who does not lose us in His hand. It says, those that the Father has given me, I will lose none. Those that the Father has given Him, He doesn't lose them. And the scripture later on will correct, it's not Him that wills, not Him that, but it is my Spirit, says the Lord. So it's very clear that the Bible speaks of us having Him as the one who guides our salvation and our walk. So be very careful of being consumed with sinless perfection, or the doctrine of sinless perfection. On this one, I wanted to kind of hint at it when she speaks here, because that's where you can actually hear it.
Sin. I don't live in sin. Right? I was, what's that church? The one that has a dove and the love. The Universal Church, right? I was still living in lust. I was still living in fornication, yet I was calling myself a Christian. Only when I started living a holy life, now that I'm actually, I don't feel guilty when I pray. I feel the Lord more than before, because I'm really trying to not sin. I don't live in sin. So this lifestyle helps me to live a good life and have a good relationship with God. I'm not proud to say I'm a sinner. I want to stay away from sin as possible, because God and sin, they don't mix.
Okay, fine. But you see, you heard how she speaks about herself. You see, it's not Lerato. It's the doctrine in sinless perfection is the one that creates this mindset. You see, she tries to stay away from sin. So what does she think other believers do? So it's not Lerato. It's the teachings of Holiness movement. It's called sinless perfection. Just Google it. You will see it and you will understand. Take your time on it, because there was a time when I actually had to spend time on that teaching alone. Sinless perfection, it riddles a lot of churches in Africa. It's a very unbiblical doctrine, because it means people don't understand the progression in sanctification. Salvation is given because it is performed. The act of salvation being given was in justification. That's a past tense subject. But in sanctification, there is the progressive aspect of salvation, which we must change the body, the deeds of the body, and convert those and actually bring. Paul says, I bring my body to subjection when he speaks about it. In sanctification, we continue to strive for excellency. We don't become born again and then we just don't have it because we live holy lives. It's a false doctrine. It's a doctrine that creates very judgmental people, because they don't understand how to speak concerning these things. So they just go hard about it. They just, no, none of it. So it is an unbiblical doctrine. Be very careful when you hear people sounding like that, that from the time when they were born again, all of a sudden they were all clear. Be very careful of that, because it is a very dangerous doctrine. It thrives at excelling one, but then disqualifying others. And that's what you will hear in that. So I hope this video kind of finds you thinking. Give yourself time to study this thing. It's a very major doctrine. It's something to really concern yourself about and be concerned about. So from what you heard there, it might sound like a subtle subject. You can tell me if you want me to do an individual video about it. I'll string up a couple of verses and show you maybe a couple of videos of people teaching it. Sinless perfection is this doctrine that from the time they were born again, you'll hear it. When they were born again, they don't sin now. They don't sin. We live holy. We live holiness. They will excuse themselves by saying, I'm human and what. But when someone has the flesh emerges, no, they will disqualify the person. But they don't do that with themselves. who qualify themselves and say, I try. But then, yeah, it's pretty much the same with the other person. You think the other person is not trying? So this is an unbiblical doctrine. It's meant to discourage. It's from the pit of hell. Meant to discourage believers, and you'll be looking down on yourself because you feel like maybe you are not doing enough. It's called sinless perfection. It's not a biblical doctrine. It's this doctrine that people believe from the time when they were born again, them they were holy. They were supposed to just be holy. Yeah, it would be nice, isn't it, to just say, yeah, we were supposed to be holy just all the way. But what have you seen when you read the Bible? The Bible speaks about these things to say, do not allow the flesh to continue to take over. So we thrive in that, but that does not mean we are not born again. Now we must question whether we are born again because we sinned. It's a very subtle subject, and I'm telling you, there are many people who easily disqualify themselves, and they easily disqualify their salvation because of that. It's called sinless perfection. Look it up online and look at both debates. Look at debates of people that believe it. Look at debates of people that don't believe it. And you will see the argument biblically does not make sense. It's tricky. I hope this video finds you well. Be very careful with that. It's a very deadly sin. It's a very deadly doctrine. It will isolate you from the body because you become very judgmental when you look at other people. You qualify yourself, like you hear, Lerato is qualifying herself. No, she was born again in 2009. But you said you converted to holiness not long ago. So how were you born again in 2009? But it's because people qualify themselves. I don't blame her. It's that people when they start believing in holiness movement, they start qualifying themselves. So she's born again in 2009. But somehow, for others, they can only recognize the days when they joined holiness, that they were born again. But why is it that she does that? It's because of this thinking. I don't. That's what I'm saying. I don't blame it. It's something that happens subconsciously. It's Ricky. Y'all stay good.